today we're going to talk about Daniel again, because Daniel is from the Bible, and that's where we got the Daniel fast from. Okay, so Daniel is a guy, just to kind of keep you guys up quickly on it. Daniel was a eunuch, and a eunuch is somebody who back in the day, during the biblical days, they would have these beautiful young men around age 15 to go and serve the kings, and they would make them servants. Have you guys ever watched Cleopatra and those movies where they have those young guys with the little tonics on and they come and they serve, you know? Okay, next time when you see a movie like that, Cleopatra or whatever, you'll look for that, you'll see it. So Daniel was one of those guys, and what they do with those guys is they cut them off down there. You look at her, she's like, they do what? Yes, they do. They cut them off down there and they make sure they can never have any children. They're called eunuchs. So now what happened was Daniel was a eunuch, and he loved God very, very much. And he didn't follow the king's orders as much as the king would want him to, because he didn't feel that the king loved God, the right God, because the king used to talk to all these other gods and everything like that. So in Daniel chapter 1, what happened was he didn't want to eat the king's food, so he fasted. And that's what he ate better foods than what the king was eating. And that's why we're doing that fast. So I thought we'd talk about Daniel again this week. And Daniel chapter 3, Daniel, now he's known to the king and everything of that nature. The king really, loves his kingdom, and the king's doing so much better in his kingdom. And the king decides to make this huge statue made of gold in his own honor. And he decides what he's going to do with this statue is he's going to get everybody in his kingdom to pray to that statue. So that will now be their God. And then so some of the people were like, oh, this is such a great idea. We have this statue right here in front of us where we can pray to it instead of praying to something we don't see, right? So everyone thought it was a great idea. And then the king was like, yes, everybody loves me, right? And then one of the guys said to the king, yeah, but there's a couple of people in the kingdom that aren't doing it. Like, for instance, Daniel. Daniel said he will never pray to your God. Right? And Daniel, so he says, what? Tell Daniel to come here. So he says to Daniel, Daniel, I hear you're not going to pray to my God. Daniel says, no, why would I? That's not my God. My God is in heaven. My God is a real God. It's our heavenly divine creator. And the king said, okay, if you do not pray to that God, then I will kill you. And Daniel said, all right, because you know what? My God will save me. No matter what. You can go ahead and do whatever you want. So what the king did was, back in those days, he would kill people in something called the furnace. Right? And he would just smoke them to death. Right? So what happened was, Daniel knew that was going to happen to him. He said, I'll give you another chance. Do it. Daniel said no. He said, all right, you're going to go and with your friends, because Daniel had 2 other friends with him that were always on his side. And he said, we're going to send you guys into the furnace. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn the furnace up 7 times the heat than we usually use. So Daniel said, that's fine. If that's what you're going to do, my God will save me. Daniel gets into the furnace, and the king's watching, waiting for him to get burned and everything. And there was Daniel and his 2 friends in there. And the king said, how many people did we put in there? Because there's 4 in there now. And everyone said, we only put 3 in there, king. Only 3. And the king's looking, and the king's like, no, there's 4 people in there. And the king's looking, and the king noticed the 4th one looked like an angel. And that was God's angel that came to protect Daniel. And what he did was he saved Daniel, and Daniel and his 2 friends came out of the furnace. And the king bowed down to Daniel and said to Daniel, look, this God that you praise is the true God. We all should praise this God that Daniel praises. So, that, I thought, would bring us to the next thing, which would be leadership. We should all think of leadership. Daniel was a great leader. He was a great prophet as well, but he followed his own heart, and that's what we should do. Not only as young teenagers, young girls and boys, but also as adults. A lot of the time, as adults, we lose our way too. We end up following people, and sometimes we have bosses and at jobs. I don't even like to call them bosses. I like to just call them supervisors and managers. And they try to tell people what to do, and sometimes it's wrong and it's illegal, right? And we have to be willing to say, no, stand up and say, this is wrong. Almost like the legal system when Harvey was just talking to us, when he said that when they're doing certain tests and they say, okay, this person, we want them to look guilty. And sometimes they'll even say, make this person guilty, make the person's test come out guilty, and the person who's doing the test will make it come out guilty. That's when they should stand up, no matter what. Even if they lose their job, even if they lose respect from all their peers, they should always say no. Always stand up for justice. And being a leader is not easy, right? Being a leader, sometimes people get jealous, sometimes envious. Remember we were talking in the last class about envy and everything? People will become envious and hate you. Or people try to be you, and they try to take your spot, and they want to get rid of you, right? So leadership is never, ever easy, but it's very, very important. And 2 Chronicles 15:7, it says, but you, take courage, do not let your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. So every single time we stand up and lead someone, every single time we stand up for what is right, we will be rewarded. Even at the moment we might feel like, oh my God, what did I just do? I had a client that did do that at work. She had a job, she was there for 7 years. Okay, it was at a firm, I'm not going to say the name, but she stood up for something. She knew something was not going right, and she stood up and they fired her. And yeah, they fired her. I love your expressions. She said, what? They fired her for standing up for something right? Right? But yes, that's what they did. They fired her, right? And after they fired her, she also she was not approved for EI.
Because they wouldn't allow it.
They wouldn't allow it, right? Right, for unemployment insurance. So what happens is, unemployment insurance you are supposed to already get. Like what you do throughout working, they take a chunk of that and they put it into a side little bank account, so to speak, right? And then when you lose your job, then they give you that money back. It's a portion, only a portion of what you were making. So that what happened was she applied for it and she didn't get it. So now she's thinking, oh my gosh, great. She stood up for what was right, and now she doesn't know how she's going to pay her rent, how she's going to pay her lease for her vehicle, how she's going to keep her children going and food in the house. She ended up having to go on social assistance. But you know what? After she went on social assistance, you know what happened? She got a retraining. And when she got the retraining, she used her current experiences and she applied them to the retraining and ended up making double the income she was making at the old job that she stood up to. Right? Yes. So although there was a downtime, and sometimes leadership will do that, because when we're leading, we have our back to the crowd. We don't know what they're doing. They could be talking bad, they could be laughing, but you have to stand strong and keep on moving, right? Never mind what other people are saying behind you. Never mind what other people could be doing. Because you're leading, you have to look forward and keep on moving. You can't look behind and say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, I got to go with those people. Or, oh, let me go with the crowd. You know, just like Remax says, they stand above the crowd because they do things differently. Right? And so never ever be afraid to stand up, like it says in Chronicles. Romans chapter 12, verse 4 says, for as in one body we have many members, and the members do not all have the same function. So in other words, in our body we have arms. They do different things than our legs, right? They do different things than our ears, right? And our head is the leader. So maybe not, maybe our heart is the leader, right? But we have a leader somewhere in the body. And the body of people, there's always a leader too. There's a different function for everyone. So not everyone is a leader. But at some point in our life, we will come to a point where we have to lead. And when that point does come, we cannot worry about what other people say. We cannot worry about how other people have done it. We have to do it the way we know is best for us. Right? Go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't the brain the leader of the body? Because, like, you can't do this without your brain telling your nerves to do that.
I'll go with that. I love that. Thank you. And you're right. Actually, you are right. The brain is the leader of the body because that's where the hippocampus is, that's where the amygdala is, the frontal cortex, and that's where the whole machinery is. That's right.
But unfortunately, our heart is what usually leads our brain and makes us make wrong decisions.
That's what we believe. That's what we believe, but it's the love is in the brain too.
Is it?
Yeah. Right? So it is. You're right. Thank you for correcting me on that. Miss Thinker, She's like, wait a minute. The brain is the leader, Cerise. Sorry. Good for you. So yes, you see, what happens is when we have a certain part, not everyone is a leader, right? But we have to be willing at any time to take that lead, okay? There was another friend of mine, and she was at work, and someone got fired, okay? They came to her and asked her to step up, to take the reins. They're like, you know what, we know you don't know what you're doing at this other job, but we know that we can retrain someone for your job, and we know we can train you quickly for this other job, so please just step up and take the lead. She told them no. Months later, they found a reason to let her go. And she knows it was because of saying no to stepping up. They wanted somebody that is in their company that is ready at any time to take leadership. It's not always easy to be a leader. It's not always easy to say, yeah, I'll take control of that. Sometimes it's tough. Even sometimes, you know, people will try to ridicule you. I have people in my life, you know, even on Facebook and stuff, people criticize when they see you're even trying to lead your own life, right? You're not trying to lead everyone else. You're not trying to do anything else, but people will criticize. Oh, look at her. She was a psychic yesterday and now she's a preacher, right? So this is what they will try to do, and I know it's being said. But what do? I just turn my back to the crowd, let them little quibble, do whatever they want behind my back or whatever, and I keep it moving. You know, look, people will talk, so when you got to be ready to take leadership, you have to be willing to say, yeah. You know how you know you're a good leader? When people start hating on you. That's when you know you're a good leader.
And also when they start
and when they start imitating you. Very good point. Sorry?
Would that also happen if they start bullying you?
They start bullying you. That's right. And
Because that's happening to me in school.
Kids are bullying you?
No, just one girl.
Because you know why? She can't be you. So she's envious of you. And she wants to be where you are. So what does she do? She tries to tear you down. That's called crabs in a bucket. When you put a whole bunch of crabs in a bucket, yeah, you put a whole bunch of crabs in a bucket, right? The one that gets to the top, the crabs want to pull down. Not so they can not only bring it down, but so they can use that one to bring it out of the bucket too. So there's many reasons why people will try to bring you down, but I have the funny suspicion that she's trying to bring you down because she's jealous of you. She looks at you and she's like, oh, Shanice has nice earrings. Shanice has a mom that loves her. Shanice has friends. People really like Shanice, you know, and then all of a sudden she feels threatened by who you are. And she's like, who does this Shanice think she is? I could be like Shanice too. And then she tries to tear you apart and pick you apart and make you less than you are. When you allow someone to do that, either by, you know, getting down and crying or by thinking about it afterwards, you are allowing them to achieve what they set out to do. So when she does put you down, or she says something to you that hurts you, just say to yourself and to God, I will not allow her words to affect me. See? And that's a part of leadership as well. God will give us these little gifts, okay? I'm a treasure hunter. I love to go to the Salvation Armies and the, you know, what's it called?
Goodwill. The
Goodwill, St. Lawrence Flea Market. Oh my gosh. And I find these little treasures that are so unique and they can't be bought these days any longer, right? I bought this ring there. I mean, I don't know where else to buy them. I bought this ring there, and they have real crystals in them. And this right here, a man wanted to rebuy from me for hundreds, and I only bought it for $1. And it's real, yeah, and it's a real stone. How I knew it? That's why I bought it, because I looked and it looked like it was plastic, and I was like, the bottom is adjustable. It might not be worth that much, but, you know. And so I felt it, and it was rock. And I was like, And then I noticed all the stones, and I was like, no, this person doesn't know what they're selling. I got myself a treasure. I was on the phone with you when I was down at the St. Lawrence Flea Market one time, and that guy that was homeless, he sold me that brooch for $2. It's called Miss Pa. I went online, they're selling them for $500 to $5,000.
Wow.
That's what God does when you are leading your own life. You're in leadership. You're not listening to anyone else. You're just doing your own thing, moving along. God will give you these little treasures. A few weeks ago, I was down looking for a treasure again, and I saw this cross. And it kept calling me, right? And I'm like, oh, I said, man, how much for that cross? He's like, oh, I don't know, give it to me for $5. I don't know if it's silver or whatever. So I'm like, okay. So I gave him $5. I took it home, and I thought, this is a very unique cross. I wonder if I just had these little rhinestones in it and everything. And I thought I could sell that back on my new website, Chez Cerise, which I just started last week, right? Like, I could sell this back and make $10 off it, right? You know, make $5 or whatever. So I'm looking at it because there's this little thing on the back side of it, a little signature. But now, of course, with my vitamin B12 being so low, my eyesight isn't the greatest. I won't say it's age. I'll just say it's vitamin, right? So I turned it around, I'm looking at the mark. And so I'm like, wow, I don't see what the mark says. So I got a magnifying glass. And I put a magnifying glass up too, and I'm searching underneath the light. All of a sudden I saw within the little tiny hole, there was a prayer. And it was the Our Father prayer, magnified. You guys can find it online. If you go online and you just put in the Our Father prayer cross, you will see that the eye hole is about the size of a pencil mark almost. And it's magnified, because when I did that, I saw the Lord's Prayer, and I went, whoa! And I looked around, because I thought the Lord's Prayer was like written somewhere, and I'm like, these visions are getting strong now, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, wait. And I looked again, and I looked through the cross, and there it was.
What happened to all the words from the prayer?
I don't know. I'm going to bring it in next week. See, I'm going to bring it in next week. Thank you, because that's exactly what my question is still. I'm like, how in the world? So, God will put all these little treasures in your path once you take leadership. Not necessarily of a whole bunch of people, but of yourself. Leadership of your life. So, like the Daniel fast, when Daniel said, I'm not going to eat the king's food, right? So for us, by you saying, I'm not going to drink any pop, you're taking a stance for your health. Once you start doing that, God will automatically bring you treasures from other pieces of your life, other things you want more. So you're sacrificing that pop, but yet He's going to bring you a client. Like, that trade-off is awesome, right? Because then you're like, whoa, and then that client brings you 3 clients, and then it just starts to unfold in such a beautiful way where you're like, holy mackerel, like you bringing Elizabeth to class. God's going to give you a treasure all of a sudden, right?
And her name's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, that's right, from the Bible. You know your name's from the Bible?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Did you ever look up Elizabeth in the Bible?
Oh, actually, we had a project last year for school, and we had to do this thing to try, because there were so many people in my class that had names from the Bible, so we had to look up ourselves in the Bible.
Wow.
That's interesting that you had a lot of people at your age having kids in class with the name that's in the Bible, because usually people don't name their kids after the Bible any longer. They just name them kind of like cool names still, right? But yeah, that's really nice. And but do you have a nickname? Does anyone call you Liz, or
Some of my friends did.
they call you Liz? Very interesting. So what does your name mean?
No, I think it was, yeah, I don't remember.
Does it have something to do with a pregnant woman?
I don't think so.
John the Baptist? John the Baptist's mom?
Yeah.
So John the Baptist was the person who baptized Jesus. Do you know who Jesus is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist. John the Baptist was his cousin. And Elizabeth was John the Baptist's mom. John the Baptist's mom went down in history because she raised John the Baptist. John the Baptist never had a drink of alcohol, a smoke in his life, nothing. All right? That's very rare, right? Even these days, right? But yes, so that's who she was. She was somebody that was very powerful in the Bible and raised somebody who has made a huge difference on even society today, 213 years after Jesus died. No, 2,013 years after Jesus died. Yeah, 200 years. So yes, very nice. See, and that's a leadership name too. Queen Elizabeth has that name, and she wasn't the only queen with that name. Right? Were you? Yeah. Our money, we look at her every day on our money and everything, right?
I love spending her.
Oh, okay. Now, in 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 15, it says, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. So that means, just present yourself to God. Do everything that you can do within your ability to be the best person that you can be. Stand strong, be a leader, move forward. Don't worry about what other people are saying or doing. 1 Corinthians. Now, I got this from, I got a gift last week from Jen's mom. And this gift that I got was a day timer, right? A day planner. And on the side, it gives a verse from the Bible each day. So, December 31st is when it started. Now check this out. First of all, I wanted to use it the same day. So last Saturday was, what, the 30th on the Saturday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I said to God,
No, the 29th. Because the
29th.
31st was the
Oh.
Monday,
Yeah.
30th was Sunday, and 29th was Saturday, when we saw each other last.
okay.
So she gave it
all
to you
right.
on the 29th.
The 29th. Okay, so it started on the 30th then, because I said to God, I said, I want to use this right away, right? I don't want to wait till the 1st, right? And I'm like, oh man, you know, I gotta wait till the 1st and everything, right? I can hardly wait for my new puppy dog, which is 4 weeks away, right? I'm like, really? So I'm like, God, I just wish I could use this. So I started flipping through it to look at it, and all of a sudden it started the next day. And I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. There's a blessing in and of itself right there. I was able to use it the next day. Not only that, the first prayer talks about stand firm in the name of God. And I have that written on my lamppost beside my bed. The first prayer in that book is the one that I live by every single day. Okay? And I was like, whoa. Like those little things happen when we are following God and when we're doing God's work. All these little things happen where we are like, we'll be like, that's God. And then they actually get to a point where they'll freak us out. Right? So then 1 Corinthians 16 says, be on guard, stand firm in faith, be courageous and be strong. When you take leadership, not everybody will like you. Some will be envious, some will want your position, some will try to discourage you.